Now, also, this kind of a bombshell over the weekend. Remember last week, Phil Bennett? He will join us today, was on the show talking about Arizona State and Ray Anderson and the President Crow. Here's a tweet that Arizona State is going to self-impose. They have done this, a self-imposed one-year postseason ban on its football program for the 2023 season. Has yet to hear from the NCAA regarding recruiting violations that occurred under Herm Edwards, and they also were having practices and never had recruits on campus when they weren't supposed to during the COVID time. But Phil Bennett said they had not yet seen their violations. So then they do this. Here's Ryan Leaf, and I thought about this, and I'm sure this will pick up steam. Ryan Leaf responded, if I'm a senior leadership of that Arizona State locker room, after hearing that blank today, we are not stepping foot on a competitive football field until AD Ray Anderson is gone. And those truly responsible are penalized and not the guys actually on the field who did nothing wrong. In other words, they waited until the very last second to do this so that nobody basically has time to just walk up and go somewhere else and transfer in under these kind of circumstances.
Yeah, I just –
And Kenny Dillingham met with the media earlier, and we're going to see if we can try to play that audio for you. We'll get that to you, but not right now. Yeah. Let's discuss the story.
Yeah, this is, to me, just another strike in the corner of Ray Anderson, and that's just a really bad look for towards the player. Kenny Dillingham's trying to get this thing going in year one. There's so much that they just did wrong in all of this, and what does a bowl like – you are okay. The bowl ban means that, post all those, but you're punishing people who had nothing to do with it. Ray Anderson needs to be punished. He was there. He was the AD during those times. Herm Edwards is gone. That's why they need to reform what the NCAA does, because by the time they investigate all this stuff, you're punishing players who had little to nothing at all. None of the players that are on this roster were even these guys that were there on the illegal COVID visits.
That's always been the case. And the NCAA has done a little bit more, at least being seriously thinking through this like they used to. Didn't matter. Someone would get crucified as far as the
even
program.
more reason for Arizona State not to do this at all, because they did this to themselves, not the NCAA. To allow me to let the NCAA off the hook, but this would allow, if the NCAA moved faster, it wouldn't make Arizona State make decisions like this, which, again, have nothing to do with anybody who's on the current roster or coaching staff. Those people are all gone. So they've got to find out better ways to do things like this than we're going to take a bowl ban and punish a senior class that's also been there with them through some of these thin times. That just feels kind of harsh to me.
Well, I mean, the penalties are the penalties, and the NCAA had a lot of information that they'd acquired that details and lays out a lot of, what violations were occurring. And so there's no doubt that something was going on. I think that's, the most apparent and obvious thing. But to y'all's point, it didn't necessarily have to do with certainly not this head coach, majority of this roster, most of the people involved were not involved in this in any way. And for it not to be the NCAA handing down the penalty and crushing their dreams when, they've said in so many ways, that's that was the goal, was just go make a bowl game. That'd be a successful first year for Kenny Dillingham. Now you can't even have that carrot to dangle. That's a tough deal, and as we'll hear from him, obviously very upset by this, but to go ahead and just, cut off your nose to spite your own face was just really surprising to see that, and that's where I do agree that Ray Anderson needs to, have a better explanation than the lack of explanation for why they decided to go ahead and make the first move here rather than just wait on a punishment and see what that entailed. It does seem like a pretty severe move to make when, let's say the NCAA would have come out at some point and said, yeah, you are going to get a bowl ban, but at least you have time to prepare for that. You don't just drop that in their laps days before their first game and crush their dreams before they even get started, because if the NCAA were to come back, it wouldn't pertain to this year. It would have, been involved in next year and go, okay, hey, yeah, next year we already know the deal. It's because of this. We can appeal it, do whatever. But to just have the school itself decide to do that days before the opening game is puzzling and just bizarre. I don't understand that. And I get the whole, cut it off at the knees, but if you think it's going to be bad and you're kind of trying to lessen the blow.
Like Michigan and Harbaugh?
Yeah, and I can understand that mentality, but at the same time, like, how bad are you expecting if you feel like you needed to do this so abruptly?
Well,
that's the puzzling part as well.
If the NCAA had come down with a ruling, there was nothing Arizona State could do about the timing. They doing it, excuse me, with the players now. Here is Kenny Dillingham. Thanks to Chris Karpman, who we've had on back when Arizona State, the questions were they going to join the Big 12? He's great at what he does, covering the ASU Sun Devils. Here is about a minute and a half or so, maybe less, with Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham.
Control us. I mean, I knew today would be shitty. I mean, they receive horrible news on a Tuesday practice in the morning before we meet for special teams. So to think that 18 and 22-year-olds are going to go out and have a good Tuesday practice is absolutely delusional. But I think the guys battled. The guys did the best they could do.
Was it emotional telling them that?
Oh, yeah. You have a whole bunch of seniors who compete, and they can't compete there anymore.
Did you know this was a possibility?
I was informed this morning at 6:30 a.m.
How did you find out?
I met with Ray Anderson and Gene Boyd.
Motivation is a huge part of coaching. Without that carrot to have, where do you go from there?
Just be the very best we can be every day. I mean, what I just told the team is nobody cares about your circumstance. In reality, most people in life would rather see other people fail so they don't have to work hard and to actually work hard enough to beat them. So everybody looks at this and like, oh, great, Arizona State's not going to be motivated anymore. That's a win. That's how the majority of the world thinks, is nobody wants to work hard to achieve success. They want to bring other people down lower than them, and they can do the exact same work ethic. So people are looking at us and they're satisfied. They're singing for joy. They're excited because they think there's no way Arizona State football is going to be able to keep their mindset to compete. And that's the challenge, is it's us versus us every day. Oh, it's not great, especially on a Tuesday for practice, but it is what it is. And like I told the guys, we can't control it. Like, you can't control it. Not one person in the country feels bad for us. Matter of fact, more people are happy about it. Because like I said, people love to see other people down. People feed off of it. It's the world we live in. And if we allow people to feed off of this circumstance for us, then that's on us. And it's my job to try to get our team and rally our team behind each other to go compete and go work at the highest level.
Yeah, he's not happy. Thank you to Chris Karpman, by the way, again, for allowing us to clear that audio. He is furious.
Yeah. He's wrong about one thing. I feel bad for him, but I mean, I think it sucks for them, but you know, kind of rooting for Arizona State to
wonder if
go 9-3 this year or something like that.
If Dillingham, when he took the job, if he was pretty much given any kind of inclination, he knew that there might be NCAA issues, but I don't think he had any clue that this would happen right before he starts his first year.
Well, yeah, of course he knew there was a possibility of NCAA violations given what he walked into, but I think it's very clear he's gobsmacked by the fact his own school delivered the punishment.
Yep.
That's the obvious thing. The school did it. So the people who hired him and who told him about a potential bowl ban went ahead and just did it themselves. So, yeah, I think he's obviously, you know, being as professional as he can, and I'm sure that, you know, he's got a lot of different ways he's going to try to manage this anger and, you know, use it as motivation, as is very clear by his comments there. But I think there's also part of it that he probably can't say too much, that's just very puzzled by the fact that his own athletic director was involved in this decision. And you wonder how much he had to say based on those comments. Doesn't seem like very much, if any at all. And, yeah, I would be surprised if any coach, especially a new one, and especially one who clearly saw that as a thing to strive for, this bowl eligibility, to have that ripped away again days before your first game is just bizarre. So, yeah, I think that it will still serve as motivation, or they'll have an extra little layer of motivation, and let's see what they can do with it. I think he's, it was an exciting hire this offseason, and certainly that program's in dire need of a shakeup. So he'll be the guy to lead the way. He just won't be able to do it in the postseason this year.
All right, we're going to skip over